Hello guys, it's Fireside Chess coming back to you with another YouTube video. Today, we're going to be doing a continuation of my Tactics for Beginners series, which I started out with pins, and today we're going over skewers. However, if you want to watch my first video on pins, that will be in the description, but you don't have to watch these videos in order to make sense of my lessons. But I still heavily recommend that you do watch these videos in order, just so you'll have a better understanding of where I'm coming from. However, before we start, according to YouTube statistics, only 42% of the people who watch my videos are subscribed, so please check if you are subscribed. If not, please smash that subscribe button because it helps me out a ton. Without further ado, let's look at some examples of skewers. So first, let's define what a skewer is. A skewer will always have three pieces involved. One piece is the piece doing the skewer. The second piece is a high value piece, which is being skewered. And the last piece is behind our higher value piece and gets captured after that higher value piece moves away and allows it to be captured. In short, a skewer is when a higher value piece is attacked, but the piece moves and the piece behind it is under attack and can be captured. You can also remember this through the method of thinking about it as a reverse pin. So now let's get started with relative skewers. A relative skewer is basically just any skewer where the piece getting skewered is not a king. For example here, the skewer is bishop to f3, queen to b6, and bishop takes on b7. It's a pretty neat skewer, right? But this is a relative skewer because, as you can see, this queen, which would be our second piece, is the piece that's being skewered, not the king. And when it moves away, it reveals the third piece, the piece behind it, is getting attacked. So now let's move on to some other ones. Oops, that's the answer. But even when I am doing these puzzles, I do highly recommend that you try to pause these videos in between and try to solve these for yourselves, and then you can follow along with me as we do it. So I'll just give you a moment to try to solve it. And now let's continue on with the video. So the answer here is rook to e1. Again, we're skewering this queen on e5, and when this queen moves away to any square, because it won't really matter, the knight will be able to be taken anyway, no matter what. Even if like queen moves to c7, the rook takes on e8 and reveals check. And one tip that I'm going to give to you guys when you're looking for these types of puzzles, or just any position in general, try to look at each of your like major and minor pieces. Like you want to look at your rooks, your bishops, your knights, your queens. Maybe not your kings, because your kings aren't the most versatile pieces, but like your major and minor pieces. You want to think of each of their different moves and try to think about the different places where they can go, the different places that they can attack. And often, this does reveal one tactic or another. And even it doesn't have to be just like these minor and major pieces. It can even be your pawns. There's so many pawn forks and stuff out there. All you need to do is just look for it. But anyway, let's get on to our next puzzle. So here is another one. And I'll give you guys a moment to pause. Okay, so let's go over the answer here. There are multiple answers. One that people seem to choose very often is rook to d1, which is a okay skewer, but it doesn't guarantee that you win any material, because black could easily just play like queen to b5 or queen to b7 or n number amount of moves. But the best move here in this situation is actually bishop to f3, because you're skewering this queen to the rook, and the moment the queen moves away, there's no way that this rook on a8 can be defended. So it's pretty much just a free piece. Let's move on to the next one. Here is another relative skewer. I'll give you guys a moment to pause and think about it. Alright, let's get on with the lesson. So now, there are multiple responses, as you can see here. There's queen takes on d3, not very good, the rook just takes back. It's just a simple queen trade. We do have bishop to e7, and that forks the rook and knight. And then but the queen can just simply take on d1, the rook takes on d1, and the rook takes on d1. Not good. We just lost some material. Some other responses are queen to d2. No, sorry, not queen to d2, rook to d2. This is the best response here, because no matter what, even if queen takes like on e4, we just simply take rook on d8 and we win a rook. If the queen takes on d2, either the queen takes back or the bishop takes back, and then it's the same story. Or the queen can move to b5, rook takes on d8, rook takes d8, queen takes d8. Let's get on to our last relative skewer puzzle. Here it is. Let's try to see if you guys can find it. Alright, now let's look at the answer. The answer here is simply bishop to b4. We're attacking this rook and the knight behind it when the rook moves away. Very simple puzzle. So now let's go on to the next type of skewer. An absolute skewer is when the piece that is being skewered is the king. So now let's look at some examples here. Here we have queen to a4 check. That's attacking the king and the bishop behind it. The only problem is once the king moves away, even if we do take here, the king just takes back, so it's not very good. Some other options are queen to c6 check. Even if the king moves to f5, only then we can get a good exchange. We can get the queen for free, but the king will most likely come to e3 if he takes. Now it's a draw from insufficient material. The best response here is actually bishop to d5 check, because now the king is under attack. Directly, the king has to move away, and we can simply take white's queen for the price of our bishop when the king takes back. So now, here is one more puzzle. It's white to move. Again, an absolute skewer, where the king is the one being skewered. Remember, if you want to pause the video and solve it for yourself, you can. But the answer is rook to e1 check. The king can only move to either f6 or d6. No matter what happens, we simply can take the queen. So now here, it's white to move, get a winning position in 3 moves. So let's look at our different responses that we have here. We have queen to c3 check. It's not very good because king comes to g6, queen takes on g7 check, king takes on g7 check. All it is just a measly queen trade when we could win so much more material. The real answer here is actually bishop to e5 check. This is a sacrifice, because when the king takes on e5, we have queen to c3, king to e6, or king to f5, doesn't matter which one, we still win the queen. The worst response from black to bishop to e5 ends up being king to g6 or any move of the sort, not taking the bishop, because now we just get the queen for a price of a bishop. That's really, really good. So now This is defending against skewers. It's very self-explanatory. Here, it looks like black will defend himself against a skewer. So there's bishop to b4. There is rook to c7 here, supporting the knight. Bishop takes, rook takes. It ends up being a trade. Again, let's look here. Black is in a skewer. How do we save it? Pause it for yourself and try to figure it out. But here's the answer. Queen to a7. And now let's try to see if we can think of what the skewer was. Our skewer was already set up for us. The queen was under attack from this bishop, and the bishop behind it was in jeopardy. When the queen simply moves to a7, it ends up supporting this bishop. There will often be positions like this in your games where you will have a skewer, but it's easily defended. But even if this happens, don't lose hope, because your opponent might not see it, or you might get a second chance later on. And now there are many more homework positions. I'll just display these on screen so you guys can answer them, and just leave your answers in the comment section if you want to. So let's see the first homework position. I'll leave this up for a couple seconds. All right, let's go to the second one. I'll leave this one too for a couple seconds. All right, the third one, I'll leave this up for 5 seconds, and any puzzles that come afterwards. Our fourth position. Our fifth position. What is white's best move? Our sixth position. White is down in exchange. Find 2 ways that he can win back the exchange. The seventh position. List all of white's possible skewers and then decide which one is best. Alright, the eighth homework. Black to move. Who would win this position? And white to move. Material is roughly even in this complicated position, but white found a way to cut through the complications and get a winning material advantage. How? You can read this hint. And that's going to be the last homework position. Remember, if you want to, you can leave your answers down in the comment section. It'll definitely help out anybody else who is watching this and was having trouble. But always make sure you like and subscribe, and stay safe. Until next time, bye.